And I'm back with another Odin custom knife. I just spent yesterday afternoon with Kyle Odin, Jim Tom on Facebook, the owner and maker from Odin Customs, on my live stream with Alex. The one I want to talk about today is this guy. We've talked about the Meteorite Sign model, and this is one of his heaviest knives that he's made because of the meteorite. This is the Spartacus model, and this particular one is one of the lightest ones that he's made. So I figured I'd just bring them both out to show and compare a little bit. This one is also one of the first knives that he ever made for himself as a prototype that he was going to keep and carry. And then, like a lot of makers that I know, he needed a new something, a new grinder, a new machining tool. He needed something, and so he offered to sell this. And my buddy Anthony picked it up. This is the first inset liner lock that he tried. And for those of you that are not familiar with a liner lock versus a frame lock, so this Shargnivko Ryu is a frame lock because you see the frame, and that's where the lock bar is as just part of the frame, right? Here we have a liner lock. So the frame looks very clean and polished on the outside, if you will. So it's a little cleaner look. And then you have a liner of titanium on the inside that does your lockup. Okay? You can go one more step and do an insert liner lock or a hidden liner lock where the liner is still there, but it's recessed into the scales. And you can kind of see that here. If I shine a light in there, you can see more of how it is. It's attached at the back with some screws on this particular model. And it's a piece of titanium that winds up in there. And away you go. So I prefer, I think, generally a liner lock. With the liner lock, it doesn't matter how much pressure you have on the knife when you're opening it. This particular knife here, it doesn't really matter either. But if I put a lot of pressure with my middle finger on the lock bar, it's going to not open as easily. Okay? This particular model, it's not really a problem. Some other knives, if you put lock bar pressure on them, like my RJ Martin, if I put pressure on the lock bar, it's not going to open. Like, it's hard. It's almost impossible. I got to get my fingers off of that lock bar, and then it's not a problem. So every knife is a little bit different. With a liner lock, you don't have that issue at all because I can't put any pressure on that lock bar if I tried. Okay? This is all carbon, not all carbon fiber, but the scales are carbon fiber. You have a beautiful, and we'll just zoom in here and kind of give you the walk around. This is a Nichols Starlight Damascus. I really like this pattern. It's similar to the herringbone that I did a little bit ago, video on. But it's a little bit different. And again, from a distance or at quick glance, you might not notice the Damascus pattern. This is fat carbon fiber camo, what do they call it? The black camo with a frag pattern. And what's really cool about this one is his Odin custom logo is kind of laser etched into the pivot, which I think is just a cool touch. So you have completely carbon fiber scales, and it's kind of in this camo pattern. And then he milled in all of the grenade frag pattern in there, which, we'll get to that. Damascus clip, titanium hardware that's blued. The blued titanium inset liner lock, which we talked about. So it makes this incredibly light. So he's got zirconium thumb studs, which I think is a perfect match for the black and whatnot. The frag pattern, I like the look of it. I do. And it gives you an amazing amount of grip. Like, this isn't moving. It's not coming out. You could have wet hands. You could have gloves on. And that gives you a lot of traction and works really well. It can give you a little too much traction on this side to go in and out of your pocket. So I'm not a huge fan of that particular aspect of this frag pattern. Now, Odin also used the same Nichols Damascus as the backspacer, which I love. That's just, to me, that's like a must do. I really like when a maker, when they have a backspacer, if it's not part of the scale like this RJ Martin, I like them to use the blade material. I just think that's cool. Now, he did not do that on this particular one. He used zirconium as the backspacer, but I think a backspacer with this Damascus pattern would have been equally cool back here. So I don't know. I'm not a designer, but I do like when they use the same material as the backspacer. And I think a lot of companies will kind of, I don't want to say cheap out, but they'll use a beautiful Damascus blade and then they'll just use a titanium backspacer. And I don't know. I think you can just go that extra mile and put in that little piece of Damascus, which isn't going to cost you tons more money. Sure, it's going to cost a little bit more, but you already bought a billet of this material for the blade. As you're cutting this out, you're going to have a little sliver left over that you can use as a backspacer, in my opinion. Okay? This particular model, well, this particular example of the model has a super crazy light detent. Like, it's just not really a detent. And it does, I can flip it open just by shaking it open, which for a prototype, I have no problem with that. First time you're trying a new technique, a new lock design, I have no problem at all. And in talking with Anthony, that was all disclosed. He bought it knowing that and whatnot. It gives it a fun, cool fidget factor because it's super light. And I have no problem with that. It's brand new. It was a prototype. It was a new design, and it ended up with a light detent. Who cares? All right, a couple of quick specs. 5 inches closed, 8 7/8 overall, 3.8 inch blade, 0.023 behind the edge. Talked about the steel. Weighs in at 4.5 ounces, whereas his heaviest version came in at 10.4 ounces. Overall thickness is 0.71. Runs on bearings. And I think we talked about all my other notes. I think it's very cool. This is the Sign model. This is the Spartacus model. Here it is next to the Sharpie. The Spyderco. Run through a couple of these really quick for you. Since we're talking carbon fiber, the VC Edge interface. Since we're talking carbon fiber again, we can do, how about the production Hellraiser? I haven't brought that guy out in a minute, I don't think. And since I had the RJ Martin out and the Shark Nivco, give you a quick peek at those as well. So it's been very cool getting to know Jim a little bit more and checking out all of these knives. I have a couple more to film before I can ship these back to Anthony, the owner. So please check out my Odin Custom playlist up here. And if you missed the live stream, please go check it out over there.